Hey everybody, it's November 1st, 2025, and this is my monthly update video. You probably, if you've seen others of these, notice a change in venue, which I'll talk about in just a moment. I'll be talking about what went on in October, which turned out to be quite a full month, but not for the reasons I thought it would be, and what we've got coming up in November. I always like to begin by highlighting three big things. So, big thing number one, which probably many of you already know about, is something very unexpected happened. I had a literal slip and fall, shattered my hip, and had to have emergency hip replacement surgery, and that was fairly early on in October. So I have been here in our living space. I haven't been to the office for quite a while or to my teaching places, resting, recuperating, and slowly getting back to at least some forms of work. Big thing number two is related to that. I will be fairly soon getting sort of an update, a checkup, going to the doctor who's going to look at everything, and things are a bit up in the air until we get the verdict about what I can and can't do for the next month or so. So, you know, I guess that you could call that a piece of news, but it's news not yet happening. And then big thing number three, a little bit more in my usual wheelhouse. I mentioned in last month's update that I've got a really cool one-day seminar coming up on three essays of Martin Heidegger. We're still doing that, but it has been pushed to December 6th rather than being in mid to late November. So keep an eye out for that. Later on this month, we'll have announcements and a video about that. It's going to be a great, intensive one-day seminar, which is open to anybody who would like to join in. So those are the three big things. Let's talk now about October. So, of course, the biggest news for October is not something academic or public philosophy. It's about the accident that I had and the, hip replacement surgery, which is at a fairly young age of 55, and the subsequent rest, recovery, all the things that go into that, and sort of the displacements that it meant for the type of work that I do. I've done some writing about this, so you can find out more if you want to by going to my Substack, where I've been, writing not just about what happened, but my reflections on certain aspects of it. It was a literal, like, coincidence, chance event, and there's nothing big to read into it. I literally slipped on I had socks on, wood floor. My foot went out from under me, landed just right on my hip. And for the first time in my life, I broke a bone. And, being the overachiever I am, I broke a big one, right? So I got really good care. And, as I mentioned, we're going to find out more a little bit later on this coming week to find out, what I'm cleared to do and what I'm not cleared to do. It has meant not doing certain things that I had lined up for October, quite understandably. For the first week, I didn't have classes, I didn't have client appointments. It was just, take it easy and have the operation, get home, do a little PT, and convalesce. I started doing my face-to-face classes online the next week. And, that has been going pretty well. My students are happy to be back in class. I'm happy to meet with them. It's not, as enjoyable necessarily as walking over to Marquette University or to Milwaukee Institute of Art and Design and getting to see them face to face and, interact in the ways that we do. But it's certainly better than nothing. And I've been teaching online since 2012, so I'm kind of an expert in how to do online classes well. This last week, I started reincorporating meeting with clients, tutorial, philosophical counseling, consulting, all of that sort of stuff. So it's been kind of a gradual process. And the physical aspect, every day things are getting better. I have a little less pain. I have a bit more flexibility, mobility, strength, stability, independence. It was very, very rough at the beginning, and it didn't stop being rough for quite a while. But I've already probably said enough about that. So, what was I able to do? There was the before time, and I did my usual Ask Me Anything session. The very day that I fell, I had my Worlds of Speculative Fiction session, which you can see the video of on Ken Liu's Dandelion Dynasty, the second book. Really awesome book series. And I was supposed to host a panel at StoiCon. I wasn't up for that. And they were like, yeah, that's fine. I did give a short, about 15-minute talk at the online philosophy of love and friendship um, online conference with the Plato's Academy Center last weekend, and I think that went quite well. So, I was able to do some things. Video work, you may have noticed a certain paucity of videos, and that's in part because I didn't have as many in the tank as I often do, so there wasn't as much stuff to release. And without going to the office where you see a lot of my videos are shot, that's where my chalkboard is and where my camera and voice recorder and all that equipment is. It's a little bit more difficult, or in some cases impossible to shoot those videos. So, what I've released, I did have some core concept videos on Thomas Aquinas's Summa Theologia, primarily the stuff having to do with love in prima pars and prima secundae pars. And I released the videos on the AMA, the Worlds of Speculative Fiction, and the Philosophy of Love and Friendship. I did also produced two Sadler's Stories videos, which you may have seen. And I was really happy that I got two Sadler's Honest Book reviews done and released this last month, because that's something that I've been kind of dragging on. So that's the whole video production thing. Podcast episodes. Now, those I did have quite a few in the tank in the Sadler's Lectures series. So Hobbes' Leviathan, I released a whole bunch on that. There was a one-off on Søren Kierkegaard's The Present Age. Four of Seneca's letters. I released podcast episodes on those. And I just finished releasing the five episode series on the correspondence between the great medieval lovers and intellectuals, Eloise and Abelard. So that is October, pretty busy month, but definitely not for the reasons that we originally had planned. This isn't the sort of thing you can plan for. So let's talk about what we've got going on in November. So in November, we have some cool events lined up, including one local event. I should preface all of this by saying that I think it's actually some progress on my part that was then confirmed by, talking with my wife about this, that there's a tendency to want to like, I got to get back to things, get back in the swing of everything, and maybe, since we've got this downtime, make lemons into lemonade. We'll do more streams or something like that. So resisting that temptation to, since I'm feeling a good bit better, try to do maybe too much for the time. That's what's going on here. And you might say, oh, well, that's too bad. Well, that's actually a good thing for me. I do need to like rest and recuperate and rehabilitate. But we do have some cool stuff lined up. Next weekend, we will kick off on the 8th at noon. All of these are Central Time, so you do want to check your time zones. We'll kick off with our monthly Ask Me Anything session, so you can show up to that, and we'll chat about stuff. Usually it's a lot of philosophy related things with maybe some music things. I'm sure people will be asking questions about the injury as well. That very same day, for Patreon supporters at 2 p.m., I'll be doing my usual philosophy chat, which is a little bit more intimate. It's video conferencing. People can ask me whatever they like there. On the 12th, we have a local event. Now, this is, of course, contingent on getting approval to going back to those sorts of things, but I think the odds are quite good for that. If you like my Philosophers in the Midst of History series and you're here in the greater Milwaukee area at the Frank Weinberg Library at 6 p.m., I will be presenting on Karl Popper, and that's one I've been looking forward to for quite a while. I won't be standing behind a podium, I'll be sitting instead. But, it should be a really fun event. So if you're in the area, you might want to check that out. And, I'm happy to meet up with people. Then on the 15th, we'll be doing the next Worlds of Speculative Fiction. And this time around, usually we're doing, a couple books or short stories. This time around, we're doing one gigantic mammoth book, which is Stephen King's The Stand. And we'll be looking at the longer version that he was able to re-release, adding in the parts that they made him cut out when he originally released it. So, that will involve me shooting the video, which we premiere. We do live chat during it, and then we meet via Zoom after that for a nice video conferencing session. On the 16th, which is a Sunday, also at noon, Scott Trulli and I will be reprising classic metal class. And this time around, we are looking at the role and functions and contributions of women in classic heavy metal. So we're talking about the 1970s and 1980s. Obviously, we'll also be probably touching on some of the important developments and even the cool news, for example, about the new drummer for Rush. But we're going to be focusing mostly on what was going on in the 1970s and 80s. So if you can join us for that, if you're interested in classic metal, that'd be awesome. And depending on, my level of ambition, I'd like to start, getting back to these self-directed study, Sadler's advice videos. So on the 22nd, which is a Saturday at noon, I will hopefully be doing another video premiere with live chat. And the thinker who I've been meaning to get to for a while will be Augustine of Hippo. I'll be talking about, like, if you want to study him on your own outside of academic classes, how would you best do that? What are some approaches? What are some things to keep in mind? Video production, some of that I can actually do here in our living space. Some of it really has to happen in the office, for example, in front of the chalkboard. So it's going to be contingent. We'll see what I'm actually up for. But here's what I would like to do. So I will definitely be doing more short videos, specifically on a topic that I started doing a while back because I, taught a class on it and I'm working on a book project on it. And that is Stoicism and the Cardinal Virtues. So I just kind of, you know, did a little bit of that earlier on. I want to say back like in August, maybe. And I'm going to do some videos digging in a little bit deeper, but in short ways, talking about these breakdowns of the cardinal virtues and how they're understood by some of the key authors. I think I could also do Sadler's stories videos here effectively. So I'll probably be doing some more of those. I actually had an interesting suggestion recently. Somebody was like, "Do you have any Halloween stories?" And actually, I do. So maybe I'll do some of that. Sadler's honest book reviews. That will have to get back in the office to be able to do, but I do have some books that am ripe to review. I think I could do a fake quotes video quite effectively from here, and then core concept videos. So I had wanted to have a lot of these done for a class that I'm currently teaching, namely um, this philosophy of love and friendship class that I'm teaching at Marquette University as a face-to-face class. I always like to produce these resources, and I did, obviously I didn't get to all the ones that I wanted to. Some of the ones ahead, I would like to shoot some core concept videos on Jeremy Bentham's posthumously published on offenses against oneself, which has to do with sexuality. And so it's an application of utilitarian philosophy to sexuality, something we're going to be discussing in our class. Um, Bertrand Russell's Marriage and Morals is another text that we're going to look at some chapters from. So I'm hoping to do some on that. And just recently this week, I led a class session on somebody who is not very well known, but I think deserves to be better known. And that is the great early modern philosopher Ninon de Leclos and her letters that she is writing to the young Marquis about the nature of love and friendship and sexuality and desire and all these sorts of things. So, I don't want to be overly ambitious. I'm not promising I'll necessarily get to all of these, but let's say there's at least a 50-50 chance that I'll get a good bit of this done. A lot depends on what the doctor has to say. Podcast episodes, I have some already lined up on Thomas Aquinas's Summa Theologia, the stuff that I released last month in video form. I'm going to be releasing in podcast form. And then, the stuff that I managed to get done as core concept videos, whether I get to the Bentham or Russell or De Leclos, those will be getting converted into podcast episodes as well. And I'll be resuming doing some of my Mind and Desire podcast episodes. And on that note, too, I'm going to be writing some more letters to a young philosopher, which are a perk for paid Substacks, subscribers, as well as some exclusive videos that I do for channel members in my YouTube channel and for my paid Substack subscribers. So, that's a lot going on. Again, I'll be spending a good bit of time just chilling out, recuperating, taking it easy, eating good food, and trying to, get myself a little bit stronger each day as I recover from this. And of course, we have here in America Thanksgiving coming up, which will be quite fun. Get together with small things with family and eat some good food and have some good company and cheer and stuff like that. So that is what's coming up in this month of November. Hope it's a great month ahead for all of you. I hope that you can join me for these online events that I'll be hosting. And again, if you're in the greater Milwaukee area on a Wednesday night and you want to come out and hear about Karl Popper and the contributions that he made and his the history that helped form his ideas and the contributions that he makes to the history that we're living out today, by all means, stop by. So that is it from me. and I'm, looking forward to seeing some of you in these online sessions. And you keep an eye out for the Heidegger seminar coming up, which will start enrolling later on this month.